Alright. I start every video almost saying alright, don't I? So, this is a learning experience for me as well with teaching this, and these were something I struggled with for the longest. If it wasn't for the algorithmic team, Jeremy and Nicholas and those guys who helped me out, it would have taken me a while to kind of comprehend how the heck to make these, and so trying to teach them is actually becoming kind of a struggle, so I'm sorry for the scatterbrainness of some of these. So I kind of cheated, and I kind of went ahead and did stuff while the video was off, because I was trying to revert back, because I said I was going to show you guys something, and then I realized I didn't save it, the original, and so, oops. So what I did was go down the rabbit hole, and made some crazy selection stuff up here to do some cool controls. Well, one control. So we were talking about masking out in the last one. We were talking about masking out this up and down section here. Okay. And you saw me do it one way, and then we discussed maybe doing it through just the green channel, which, yeah, honestly, I kind of messed with that after I turned the video off. It's gross. It doesn't work well.
How is that book, Juan?
And now you're going to hear a book review from Juan.
How is that book?
Alright. So I went back into removing that section and figured out we could create kind of a cool tool, or a cool slider, because that's going to be kind of what we're going to be talking about in this video, is creating those sliders that are going to ultimately give you the controls you need to create the effect you want. Okay, so what it is let me just show it to you real quick. Go down to our final node, go here. So it's basically a slider that will either take away all of that middle section or slowly bring it back in all the way to full. Now, why did I do this? Because it gives you that level of control, that catch case scenario where you're like, well, not all normal maps are built the same, not objects are going to be exactly the same. And hey, if we have this, if you notice, if we have this completely masked out, oops, we can't go to 0. If we have this completely masked out, we don't get anything coming around the edges really, you know, because it's masking out that section. So if we give a little bit of control, you can kind of start edging it around those corners. You can start adding some of the runoff a little bit above, you know, so on and so forth. So how did I do that, and why did it kind of become a bit of an experiment? It's actually something I've never done, so I actually learned something. See? Cool. So what I did was did our little blur slope, because remember we had this butt crack thing going here. So we blurred it, put it together, added a histogram to make it one solid piece. Okay, we've gone over that before. It's also used for making nodes that, you know, grow. But the thing is I want it to shrink. I've never made something that shrinks. I know how to make stuff grow. You know, that's actually kind of easy, but to go the opposite way, I wasn't sure. So what I did was take this and use it as a mask. So this was the maximum area we wanted in this node for our mask. So this is 100%, you know, masked out basically. And then we took it, blurred it inwards. Did I invert it? No. Took it, blurred it into a pure white line in the middle, and that's what we would shrink to. Went ahead and blended that together, as you can see there. And then added the levels to invert it. I could have added an invert node, but I think levels are actually cheaper. Let's find out. I'd be curious. No, it's not. Alright, we're going to do the cheaper one then. Oh, it's already connected. See, late in the day. All sorts of confused. There we go. Alright, so we inverted it. Why did we invert it? Because we needed to shrink. Okay. And then here goes our next histogram scan, which is showing the shrinking. So at 0, we're at 100, or at full. And as we bring it up, the mask shrinks into the crack. Now I can't make it go all the way away, unfortunately, but a sliver is not a big deal. I'm sure on certain normal maps that will equal 100% gone. So I could actually put a note here and say that all I want to do is adjust position in this case. Didn't I add a blur too? Oh yeah, I did. I had a little bit of a blur. We'll add a comment up here. Add comment, or we're going to say controls mask for control mask growth for vertical areas. Okay, and we'll put that there so that when we come back to do functions in a bit, we know we're looking for that. Alright, so in the end, we still have our runoff here, and we have our drips, which is what we were going for. Now, the thing to remember with this is only going to work with things with normal maps, and it's going to run it off of normal maps. If you just wanted to splatter this against a basic wall, you know, something that doesn't have normal map information exactly, like deep crevices and stuff, you're going to have to handle it different, and you could choose to or not to do this. And what it would be was you would need to go to a blend. You would need to add that there, add this here, and we'll change this to a switch. Okay. Now why are we doing this? Because now if we do this, okay, yeah. Now it does look like crap, but that's because you'll end up having to make fixes to it, which we'll go over in a second. But now we can switch like so. Or what we can do to save ourselves the trouble, so there should be pre-save switches. There's a color one. Switch grayscale. There it is. So we can just have a pre-made one instead of writing it later on. These are relatively new-ish. These weren't here back in the day. I guess not really new. They're like a year old, 2 years old. I don't know. Delete that. Alright. Alright, so now you can either have it using the normal map or you can just have it splattering. Okay, so we're gonna put this in here as an option. Now the next question is, do we want to use levels or do we want to use histogram scans? Why is this? Well, histogram scans make it really easy to adjust for switches, because it's doing a whole, shift, versus this, you'll have to choose exactly what slider you want to expose. You can't expose this whole graph, unfortunately. So you have to be like, all right, do we want this? Do we want to just adjust that? Do we just want to adjust this? It has its place. Ha, put it that way. Now, histogram scan, you could be like, all right, we're going to do that. We're going to up the contrast. You can have these just two adjustments, two sliders, and it's going to handle a lot of stuff. That this can as well, but this just makes it a little faster. So if we can just do that. And then, in fact, you could do your switch here. So you can see your just random spatters versus those ones. Okay. So we're making this a multi-functioning tool. Now the thing to remember is if you're doing this in real time, so if you're doing any of these nodes for working real time in Engine, I am not a performance expert when it comes to runtime of these things. I use these just to make textures. I don't use these in our Engine nodes themselves. So a lot of that, I just don't know. So certain things, you're going to get to a point with the node where it's too heavy, and it's not going to do well for runtime. Its calculations are just too much. You got to remember that even if it's 0.5 seconds, milliseconds, if it's going to be instanced a lot, that can take up a lot of computing time and like an MMO or a big game. But that all depends on the application. This is all for me. This is all for texturing. Just texturing. All right. So we just saw that this controls a lot of those noises. So then we have our slope. So the samples we can keep. We don't need to change that. So we just need to change the intensity. So let's go ahead and add a comment here. While we're working, we're going to say effects length of leaks. Is it effects or effects? I don't know. English. It's a thing. And we'll go ahead and dock that. Did I change this to 32-bit? Should I change it? Let's see. Or 16. I don't think it actually makes a difference. But whatever. Alright, so we have that. If you notice, I just plugged these in over here just so I could see them real time instead of going back and forth. So we're set up to start creating buttons. Now we could also take this time to continue to add other ideas, other effects. You keep building upon what we made, just like me going on this tangent up here, after I turn the camera off. Let's think of other things we can do. Let's look at water. Water leaks. I don't remember what I googled last time. Be smart to, keep. Works for me, I guess, kind of. We were talking about maybe doing that hard edge thing around it. Alright. How would we want to do that? Well, I know how I would want to do it. The other thing I wouldn't mind is seeing maybe a breakup of these a little bit. And to do that, let's mess with that real quick. Let's see if that gets us anywhere. So let's add a warp. Okay, we're going to add a warp to our image. Now the question is where to connect it. Obviously not at the switch. Well, if we connect it, let's say here, I guarantee this won't work well. Now watch, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. Explode. No. Bad warp. Yeah, it's too grainy of a image anyways. So, no. Well. I don't have clouds in here at some point. Oh yeah, the original, those are black and white spots. Which is probably still going to be way too crazy. Alright, that's not doing what I wanted to do. This might just be a really bad idea in the end. That's not horrible. Actually, slightly. That's not actually too bad. Take a look. Kind of makes it look like it's, jittering down slightly. That's the key to the warps, is finding the right clouds. But the thing is, or right black and white input you want to do. Problem is, if you look at this, this is 47 milliseconds, just to have these clouds in here. So again, runtime problem. Maybe doing this warp isn't, what you need to do. We could try to warp it by a shape or something too, but we probably don't need to. So let's actually bring our warp. I don't actually mind it down here. But just for shits and giggles, let's try it up a little further. Do that. Let's warp it from here. Oh, now see that I like. Now you're actually getting this wave going because it's warping the straight line. See, we're learning. But the thing is, it also warps it up past the cracks, which could be okay, or we're just warping too far. So let's say we did that. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Kind of gives it an unevenness if you want to look at the original. Plug that back in here. So there's original, see, just kind of straight and warped. You know, gives it a little bit of unevenness. I actually don't mind that. Now again, if it was going too far into the middle, you could try to find, again, another way to mask it to try to take it to that next step. But now I have another idea of, instead of doing that, we're going to take our warps here. That's a problem, because it's warping at that point. We might still be able to pull it off. Let's see. We're going to histogram scan. Because it's amazing. We're going to plug this in. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that is cool, but not quite what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I want these big streaks like this. Okay. And I go like, Steve, this is looking really ugly, but watch, you'll see. If this works, it might not. Now we're going to do our blur and another blend. Okay, so we'll blur. And do a blend. Actually, I wonder if I could just subtract it. I can. That's cool. Now I have another idea. If we do, oh no, it's just going to be white. Alright, so yeah, so let's subtract that. Okay. Oops. Subtract. Alright, so now we have that edge, and actually I want more of an edge. Okay. Like that. I don't like all these little speckles, but I don't think we can get them out without shrinking what we got going here. Yeah. Sad Steve. Okay. So we have that. And then we are going to blend again. We'll make this the background. Take this here. Do that. Okay. So now you can see we can actually do two different colors. That kind of stuff. Actually looks like we can get a similar effect up here. We can. We should just actually do that then. Again, save us the calculation. Alright, and then we're going to blend one more time. This should actually be the background. And let's do what? Max lighting? So now we're going from that to that. So now we have even more variations on our spikes. And the other thing is, oops, not samples. It's all dynamic, so it should all play together. Yeah. So now you can see we have that hard calcium line, like we were talking about doing. And then it's lighter in the middle. Now we could refine this a little bit more. I wonder if min darken would work. No. Subtract does actually look pretty cool. You know, so again, I'm just showing you more options. If you went that route, we could do that. Now you have runoff has, like I said, a center, and we could actually color that center now. We could make it 2 different colors, things like that, which is would be a more advanced, mask. We're just trying to make a mask here. We're not going to make a full material out of this. So this is another option for you. And then what we could do is, in the end, do another histogram or a levels. Actually, let's just do a levels. Right here. And then just expose what would we want to expose? Yeah, probably just expose white. Because you don't really want to screw with the midtone. No. Yeah, so we're going to go to values, and we'll be exposing white, or the high channel. Okay. Add comment. Expose high channel. For last adjustment. Alright. This would probably just leave it, you shouldn't have to continuously change that. And we could actually change this to do subtract and other things, But I kind of like this effect. Let's stick with this, because it does actually look a little bit more like water damage. Maybe something like that. Okay. Again, minus these weird little pit spots, but that could be something to work on. Oh, I had a message. Alright, so I'm gonna actually end this video now that I'm blanking out too, so it's probably a perfect time. So what we did was show more ways to take this effect other directions, and we ended up with a little bit more, I guess you could say, natural looking leaks, something that actually looks a little bit more like water damage, water streaks, with the, again, calcified on the side, a little bit of color influence in the middle, but not as much. And that was the goal for this in the end. Now we are going to go over exposing your functions in the next video, and wrapping this guy up and being able to send it out to the rest of your art team to use once you get it to a point where you are happy. Go to dock that. So that'll be in the next video, is exposing your functions.